Welcome to our in-depth review of the Echelon Stride-5s Treadmill, which is Echelon's new premium version of the popular and foldable Echelon Stride. The biggest difference, of course, is that while the Stride was made with its primary focus on being small, light, and having an auto-fold function to be able to tuck it away, the new Stride 5s is Echelon's attempt at a more robust, higher suspension, premium, yet non-foldable connected fitness treadmill. My name is Colin Jenkins with Connect the Watts, so let's cover everything that you need to know before you buy. Now the Echelon Stride 5s I think looks pretty nice and boasts a number of improvements and added features over its auto folding counterpart. It's a bit bigger with a 22 by 60 inch running surface. It also has what Echelon calls their new Duro 50 cushion suspension deck. It includes a 24-inch high-def touchscreen display, which can rotate 90 degrees in either direction. It has a speed of up to 12.5 miles per hour with 15 incline levels. There's also an integrated heart rate sensor on the handlebars themselves, as well as a brand new built-in cooling fan. So let's start with the new Duro 50 cushion suspension deck. Now, there's not a lot to say about this. It is obviously more supportive than the lightweight original Echelon Stride, and it feels comparable to other similarly priced belt treadmills. I've ran on slightly better ones and slightly worse ones, so I would say this is pretty decent, especially when compared to Echelon's cheaper and lighter models. Then we have the new 24-inch tablet attached on the front. There are a few things that I do really like here. For one, the connection of the screen to the treadmill is pretty solid, and you see a lot less shakiness when you're running compared to what you might see on other popular connected fitness treadmills. I also really like that you can easily unlock it in the back and turn it 90 degrees in either direction for classes that take you off of the treadmill. And I've recently become a really big fan of the boot camp style class, which takes you on and off the tread, mixing in running with strength work. And Echelon provides a lot of these type of classes, and having the ability to rotate that screen just makes things a lot easier to follow along to. That being said, the speakers on this tablet are pretty bad. They're around 5 watts each, and while you can definitely hear what is going on, the bigger issue comes from differentiating the instructor from the music, as it can sometimes make it hard to distinguish exactly what the coach is trying to say. This issue is solved, of course, if you use headphones during your run, which is what I would suggest for the most part when using this treadmill. Now, like I said earlier, the Echelon Stride 5s can reach speeds up to 12.5 miles per hour and has 15 levels of incline, which can take the treadmill up to 15 degrees. And if you notice on their website that this says 16 levels, that is a mistake, I believe, as the treadmill really only actually has 15. Now, the speed and incline is where this treadmill has some problems. It just takes a long time for this speed to ramp up and down. In fact, taking the treadmill from 1 mile an hour to 12 miles an hour takes around 30 seconds, which is quite a bit slower than other treadmills like Peloton or Nordic Trek, which only take around half of that time. And the slow speed to adjust is even more true in terms of the incline, taking a little over 40 seconds to go from 0 incline to 12 degrees, which is about 2 to 3 times slower than you will see on similar priced treadmills. Now, to control the speed and incline, there are buttons attached to the handlebars, as well as a quick select feature that they provide here. And while this is adequate, it's definitely not the best experience when you're trying to change speeds. Because to increase speeds, you have to press this button for every 0.1 in miles per hour that you would like to have adjusted, which means if you want to go up 2 miles per hour, you're gonna have to press that button 20 times. Now, instead of pressing the button, you can hold the button, but this is also pretty risky as it jumps up in pretty random and big blocks, sometimes with an increase of 3 to 5 miles an hour. So I've never found this to be a good method unless I wanted to quickly bring the treadmill down to a halt. And that is really what these quick select buttons are here to help with. And while they definitely do help, they have some issues of their own. For one, the buttons being fairly small can sometimes be difficult to press, especially when you're trying to make adjustments while in the middle of a sprint. The other problem is that they are locked in at 1, 4, 7, and 10 miles an hour for the speed presets. And this would have been a lot better and a lot more useful had you had the ability to customize these buttons to your own preferred speeds. Personally, for me, I just don't see the value or purpose of having a button that brings the machine down to 1 mile per hour when my typical walking speed is closer to 3. Next, added to the Stride 5s is a new built-in pair of heart rate sensors, and these are okay, I guess, if you don't have a heart rate monitor. Personally though, I just never like using sensors like these because you can't really use them effectively if you are running. They're only really useful if you are walking, and you do have to hold your hands on them for quite a while to get close to an accurate representation of where your heart rate might be at. So outside of an occasional check-in if you are walking, I just don't find myself using them very much. Then there is a large built-in fan here right below the screen, and while I love it when treadmills and bikes have built-in fans, this fan just doesn't do a good job for 2 reasons. Probably the biggest problem with it is that it sends the air directly into your chest rather than your face where you'd want it to go. Of course, this is going to depend on your height, but for me being 5'9", I'm no giant, and this thing is nowhere close to where my face is. But even if it was in the correct spot, the other issue with it is that it just isn't very strong. You have to be really close to it to feel anything at all, so if you want a fan on you while you run, you're probably still going to have to get an additional one to strap on to the treadmill. Now, since this is a connected fitness treadmill, the classes that you will be taking on it for many people are going to be as important, if not more important, than even the actual treadmill equipment itself. And Echelon does have a huge amount of content here, with well over 3 to 5 new treadmill classes added each day, and possibly what could be a big perk to many that I haven't seen on any other connected fitness device is a big focus on having lots of live classes in the afternoon. Now, Echelon definitely goes for more of the quantity over quality approach here, which has its positives as well as negatives. The positive being that if you want to find a particular kind of class, whether it's an endurance run, a walk, a sprint, boot camps, strength workouts, or even some more unique options like boxing or even breakdancing, there is a ton of that here to find. And despite the production value of these classes seeming a bit cheap, some of the content and some of the coaches are actually pretty darn good. And what helps them here, similar to Peloton, is that they are heavily music focused, meaning that they have a dedicated playlist of music to which each class is designed around. The negative of all of this is that they have so much content is that it can be hard to find the diamonds here among other classes that are a bit more mediocre. But once you dig in and start to figure out which class types and coaches are best for you, this becomes easier and easier to do. But for a new member, just know that you might have to spend a good amount of time trying out a variety of coaches and classes before you find a few that you really connect with. And their filtering system, which is fairly chaotic, doesn't make this process any easier. There are also scenic runs and a manual run mode here as well, but just know that the scenic runs are pretty limited in scope. Now, Echelon does a lot right, and they are obviously growing and building a pretty strong community that is different than many others. If it doesn't feel like it's for you, well, that's okay, because there are a lot of people who really enjoy this style and the programs and the coaches here. And so if you are one of those and you feel like you are a part of what they call the Echelon family, then this treadmill is the best treadmill that Echelon currently has. And so it might be a great fit for you. However, because of the issues around how long it takes to speed up and incline, as well as the issue I have around controlling that speed through the buttons that they have here, I probably would not suggest this treadmill for somebody who is not already part of that Echelon community. Unfortunately, there is just so many other options between $2,000 to $3,000 that I think if you're not already committed to Echelon, may be a better place to start out. And even though I haven't particularly fell in love with this treadmill, Echelon did come out with a bike that I reviewed recently called the Echelon GT Plus. You can check that review right here. And that bike I do really love, especially for the price that they sell it at. So check that out if you're interested. And if this video helped you out in any way, please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel if you want more content just like this. Thanks so much, and I'll see you next time.